Hey guys, this is Steel City EDC showing you the Hinderer Project X. Now, I've had this one since new, which was probably about 2 or 3 years ago now. It's in working finish, which is Hinderer's stone washed and blasted combination. This one has a full titanium scale, which is additional. They come as standard with the titanium liner and the G10 scale on there. I happen to like full tie. And actually, when I first got this knife, I didn't have a horsehead scale. So I just put the standard titanium scale on, but this one then came along, so I of course promptly upgraded to this. I'm a huge Hinderer fan, so I love the aesthetic of the horse head, and if you look at the kind of engraving there on that, I think it's beautiful. Anyway, so this knife, let me tell you a little bit about it. So size wise, she is about 8.5 inches long, as you can see from there. And in terms of the blade, we are looking at probably about 3.5. In fact, no, it's more like 3 3/4 of cutting length there. Really nice size folder. I mean, it's larger, but you know, there you go. So this one, I think, surprised many people because it didn't have the thumb studs. And Rick Hinderer has talked a lot about how the thumb studs will kind of connect in with the scales and give it extra rigidity for when you're using it. So that would be the downside I would suggest for this folder. So it's only got the one deployment method, which is the flipper tab. Flips out beautifully. There's no issue with that. It's in Magna Cut steel. Lovely action. It has the tri-way system, so this one's got bearings in, but you can easily put washers in, either the nylon or the phosphorus bronze. These have different hardware to most of the other Hinderers. So for example, if you look at an XM18 or you look at the Eclipse, ironically the hardware is slightly different on the XM18 and the Eclipse, but nonetheless very different configuration, and this one is more similar to the Full Track, which has this little tool at the back here that you just clip off. It's got a little spring inside there, so it clips off and the spring keeps it solid in there so it can't move around, and then you can undo all the screws on this and take it down. So strangely, well, not strangely, but it's also got the little, you can see there if I move it in. I'll try and get it a bit clearer. It's not focusing very well, but it's got the little like hex bolts there rather than the traditional. Again, you probably can't see very clearly the traditional screws that are in there. So in terms of size comparison, if we put them up this way, then hopefully that will give you a good idea of the size. So this is comparing to an XM18 3.5 and then comparing to an XM24, which is the big daddy of the Hinderer range. I think we've got those about flush there, and you kind of see the size difference. So the XM24, clearly the larger. But you can also see in terms of cutting edge that the Project X has got the same amount of cutting edge as the XM24. And the reason for that is the large thumb choil on the XM24. And that's really handy if you're doing close-up work and it's a really big usable thumb choil. Whereas you can see there isn't a thumb choil there on the Project X. So again, just line those back up again. And I have an Eclipse here as well. These are some of the more popular in the Hinderer range, so you can kind of see. Now the Eclipse is actually, if I just move this XM18 out of the way, the Eclipse is slightly longer than the XM18, not much in it. I need to get a straight edge there really so I can prove it. And then of course we have the Firetac. Again, if we put that there, you can see pretty much the same size. So You see the Project X has got a longer cutting edge than the Eclipse and then the XM18 3.5. If we put the fire tag back in and move it quite close up, again we can see the cutting edge is nearly the same on all of these three. Three very different knives, very different styles, very similar in some ways as well, but a very similar cutting edge. Anyway, so I'll take these out of the picture and just a size comparison for people who aren't that familiar with Hinderer knives. Here we've got a large Sebenza. This is the 31. Let's get those nice and lined up. And we've got an Zan. So again, you can kind of see the Project X is a big size folder. It's bigger than those. Now, if we move those away, a final couple of size comparisons. Here is the Spartan Hearty folder from Spartan Blades. Again, very similar size. And here is the Strider SMF. This is one of the larger Striders. And again, you can see that is slightly larger. Okay, so I think that gives you a good idea of size comparisons. So back to the Project X. This one comes with textured titanium on the lock side, and the titanium scales are textured on the aftermarket, well, let's say aftermarket, they are Hinderer titanium scales. So here we go. What do I think about this knife? For me, this is extremely comfortable. I've got fairly large hands. You can see how the finger choil here, which is sculpted out, and also there's the sculpting out on the inside of the lock bar, so you can close it really easily. Your finger feels kind of really locks in there. It feels really comfortable. This jimping along here is perfect for my hands. You've got this little kick out bit at the end here. I'm not sure what that's called. If anyone knows, please do tell me in the comments. Every day's a school day, and you're always learning new things. So the kind of combination of the flipper tab, the finger choil, and then you locks your first finger in, then your third fingers kind of lock into there as well. And this jimping really, really works. So it feels like you could use this for hours and hours and hours on end. Now, full disclosure, complete honesty here. This is a safe queen for me. I haven't used this. She unbelievably hasn't even sliced paper. That I just take great pleasure in collecting and playing with these, talking about them, photographing them, etc. I do have some users in my collection. I'm quite capable of using them. But this one was never bought to be a user. It was bought to be a safe queen. That's my preference. I hope you respect it. I appreciate a lot of a lot of people buy knives like this to use them, and that's absolutely fine. I completely get it. So yeah, extremely comfortable. If I was going to use this one, I'd feel quite comfortable that it should be very capable of hard work, a lot of hard use. You've got a really good lockup there. I've seen at least a couple of people who've done an aftermarket hole drilled in the blade and put thumb studs in there. I did consider that because I think it would take it to another level. But and I love thumb studs. I love non-flippers. But I couldn't bring myself to do that to this one. So she stayed as standard pretty much. I'm hoping that when Rick Hinderer Knives does another batch of these, they'll include the thumb stud, or maybe a fuller, or some of the mechanism. So rather than having just the one deployment mechanism, you've got a second mechanism. I think a lot of people prefer that in this modern day and age of choice. That said, the flipper works perfectly well. It's not like it needs another method. I would just like it, and I think a lot of people I speak to would like that as well. So would I recommend this knife? Yes, absolutely. Would I use it for hard use? Yes. It's relatively, well, I say relatively slim. Okay, so this is all subjective, right? But if we compare it in terms of the size to the XM24, you can kind of see it's fair. Maybe it's easier if I do them this way. You can see the XM24 is a fair bit thicker. This one, I believe, is the same size as the XM18 3.5. So again, if we just Yeah, you can see there it's the same size. Same blade thickness, same size as the XM18 3.5. Yet it's a similar length in terms of cuttable. It's the same length in terms of cutting edge to the XM24. And when they are closed up and lined up together, there's really very little in it, as you can see. I think we're just a few mil out there. There we go. So yeah, anyway, let's take this away. So as I was saying, would I recommend this? Yes, absolutely. It fits in the pocket very nicely. It doesn't feel like it's going to pull your trousers down. I mean, if you're wearing like really thin, lightweight summer pants or running shorts, you wouldn't want to carry this, you know. But for normal jeans, trousers, etc., you know, thick shorts with maybe a belt, I don't think this would make any real difference. I probably should have some scales, and maybe that's something I need to do before my more reviews, so I can show you how much this weighs. But at the same time, it's really easy just to Google it, and it will tell you exactly what these weigh. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video and my thoughts on the Rick Hinderer Knives Project X in full titanium working finish. This is a relatively new channel. I hope that you like this video. Please feel free to leave a comment, share the video and subscribe. I have nearly 80 followers now, and I'd like to grow that substantially. I've got a large collection of some very nice folders. A lot of my folders are Rick Hinderer knives in actual facts. So there's lots more goodness there for you to all to see and enjoy. But of course, about half of my collection aren't Rick Hinderer knives. So there's a lot for all the non-Hinderer fans out there too. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a great day. Cheers, guys.